Continuing with our beginner-friendly terrain making, in this video I'm going to show you how I made a simple fence. We'll start with the base, which I made from 3mm hardboard. I cut this into a 6" by 1.5" rectangle, which I then divided into 3 sections, so every 1/2 inch. Then measure 1/2 inch from either end and draw a line across. The outer 2 squares will be removed. Then, using a 45-degree set square, make these lines either side so that you end up getting this shape. And once you've done that, cut them bits out so that you get a base that looks like this. You could make the base from some stiff card if you haven't got any hardboard, but I found that using this method ends up with a really stiff base and fence. So after that's all cut out, use a knife and chamfer the edges down all the way around. Then once you've done that, set it aside and let's make the actual fence. For the fence itself, you'll need a wooden skewer, which we're going to use to make the posts, and 3 coffee stirrers for the boards. I did some experimenting with different height fences, and with some help from friends on TikTok, I found that a height of 1 inch works really well for Middle-earth SVG, Age of Sigmar and 40k. You'll need 4 posts for a 6" fence. Once you've cut out the posts, then get the coffee stirrers, cut the ends so that it's straight, and then mark out a length of 2 inches. Cut that out and then make another one. Then with the 2 remaining stirrers, cut them into 4" lengths so you have 2 2" and 2 4". And with that we now have all the parts needed to make the fence. The next step is to add a wood grain to the pieces using a wire brush. Make sure you do both sides of all the pieces. And when you've done that, that's all the prep work done. So grab some PVA glue and let's begin assembly. If like me you've got a cutting mat with a grid, then use the measurements on it to help you with this next step. If you don't, then don't worry, this style fence doesn't need to be perfect. Start by laying out the pieces so you have a 2" piece then a 4" piece to make up the top and the opposite for the bottom. Staggering the joints like this looks better and ends up being stronger. The first board is going to be just below the top of the post, and for the second I tried to leave a fairly equal gap between the ground and the top board. I ended up leaving a roughly 6 to 7mm gap. When gluing the posts on, set the end one slightly in and the middle post on the joints. That way the post will look nice and even. Then leave it to dry. Once it has dried, I found the easiest thing to do was to line the posts up with the base and then mark out where they're going to be. Then it's just a case of grabbing a drill bit the same size as the posts, and for this I'm just using my Army Painter pin vise, as it means I don't have to get out of my seat, and then simply just drill a hole all the way through where the posts are going to be. Then once you've done that, just put some PVA glue in the holes, pop the posts in and make sure that the bottom of them is flush with the bottom of the base, and then just leave it to dry. If you're using card for the base, or you haven't got a drill bit the same size as your posts, then you can simply just put a blob of glue where each of the posts is going to be, line it up, lean something against it to hold it up in place, and then just leave it to dry. Also, doing it this way, I sprinkled some sand over the glue, just for a bit of extra strength and to add texture to the glue so that it blends in nicely with the ground. Any sand will do, as it's going to be painted anyway. I've recently been basing some Tyrannid, so I had red sand. And once that's dried, you have your completed fence. What a wonderfully simple build. Now it's time for some paint. Starting with my usual of a mix of dark brown acrylic, PVA glue and water, and then cover the entire base with this. Doing this helps to seal the hardboard or card, and also it'll look more natural if there's any gaps in the basing materials than if you were to use black. And then once that's dry, you can paint the fence. For painting the fence, be sure to think about the environment in which it's going to be placed. Then you can pick a wood from a tree that would actually grow there. I'm going for something like a dark oak, as that fits in well with my Middle Earth theme. And for this I did a bit of testing so that I could get the colour that I wanted, and found that I could achieve it by just using a coat of Agrax Earthshade. But you could use any dark brown wash or wood stain. I found doing it this way is a lot quicker and simpler, and gives a more natural look to the fence. So this is where the earlier work with the wire brush comes into play, giving us a pretty realistic looking wood grain. Make sure you cover all the wood, both sides and underneath. And once you've done that, you'll end up with something looking like this. Then all that's left to do is base it, which I'll be doing the same as I do for my Middle-earth figures and scenery, using the Army Painter Battlefield Grass Green, Battlefield Rocks, Brown Battleground and Deadland Tufts. If you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, then please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know what you think of it by leaving a comment. And if you make your own fence using this method, then share your results. I'll put a link to the OTR Miniatures Facebook group in the description. Otherwise, tag me on Instagram or TikTok at OTR Miniatures. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.